Greetings gamers, HNSN, and welcome to of course a new video. And today we're going to be talking about the GameCube, because the GameCube just hit 20 years old a couple days ago. Yes, September 14th was this year was the 20th anniversary of this console. Yes, 20 years ago. Well, about 20 years ago, the GameCube was released in Japan before it came here to the United States in November of that year, the same year the original Xbox released. The GameCube is one of my favorite video game consoles of all time. I have a lot of childhood memories with the GameCube, and the GameCube was just an amazing console. It's sad that it didn't sell great. I mean, the console wasn't a commercial failure like the Wii U was, but it didn't sell too great, but it didn't sell terribly either. It sold okay. I mean, it sold 20 million, but yeah. Anyway though, the GameCube console is excellent. It is an excellent console, and what's great about it too is that its design is very good and very simple. I like that they went for a cube shaped, and that they, although it is sad that they basically, didn't have discs, like, well, we had discs, of course, but because of piracy, Nintendo just went for mini DVDs, well, for mini discs, instead of full-size DVDs like the PS2 and Xbox. But yeah, the GameCube is still a great console. It has so many great games, and the console design is just very good, very sleek, and it feels very good. And the controller with it is really great as well. It has a really good controller, and its design is actually really good. And the buttons feel very good, and it's amazing how the controller is still supported today for Smash Bros. As a GameCube controller, a lot of people's preferred way to play Smash Bros, which is a great thing, honestly, because GameCube controller is actually one of my favorite video game controllers of all time. Alright, so next up is are the accessories. I want to talk about some of the accessories while we're here. As the GameCube had some interesting accessories. Some I had, some of them I didn't. But today, we're going to talk about, well, we're going to start off talking about the Gameboy Player. The Gameboy Player is really cool. It's basically Super Game Boy, but for GameCube. It allows you to play Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games on your GameCube. And you would hook it up under your GameCube and insert a LAN cable, well, you could at least. And then you would insert a Game Boy, Game Boy Color, or Game Boy Advance cartridge, insert this disc into your GameCube, and you would play Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance games. It was really cool. Honestly, it was really cool. Alright. So the next up is... keyboard. The keyboard controller only released in Japan and was only used for Phantasy Star Online. And it's honestly sad that it never left Japan, because it would have been cool if they used it here, considering that Phantasy Star Online was one of the only GameCube games to use online play, even though you can't play it online on the GameCube anymore. Without hacking, of course. But yeah, the keyboard controller is really cool, and I wish it got localized here. Now one of the accessories I did have, unlike the Game Boy Player where I didn't have a Game Boy Player, I did have the DK Bongos. I have the DK Bongos. The DK Bongos are really interesting. They're basically a rhythm-based controller that was used on Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, Donkey Konga 1 and 2, and Donkey Konga 3, even though the third one never left Japan. Anyway, though, and also, sorry, I keep dropping my stuff. Anyway, though, I keep dropping my mic. Anyway, though, the Bongos was a really cool controller, as of course you needed to clap and you would hit the barrels. It was actually a really fun controller to use, honestly. So yeah, But now let's talk about the next wave of accessories. Alright. Now I want to talk about 2 more accessories. So the first one I want to talk about is the microphone. Now the microphone is a controller. It's only used on a handful of games, but especially Mario Party 6 and 7. And the microphone was really cool. And it would be used a lot for voice commands on games and stuff. And Mario Party even used it, which was cool. And of course, it plugs into a memory card slot, and with a button, and talk into it, or blow into it, whatever. And yeah. And then the other accessory is the Game Boy Advance link cable. Now this one plugs into your GameCube, and the Game Boy Advance link cable, it would allow you to connect your Game Boy Advance games to your GameCube, like trading Pokemon to the Coliseum and Pokemon XD, or the Pokemon Box Ruby and Sapphire, or allow the Tingle Tuner to appear in The Legend of Zelda: The Windwaker. Yeah, the Tingle Tuner, and then another example would be in The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Adventures. Multiplayer would require a Game Boy Advance and a link cable. And yeah, in Animal Crossing it would have some kind of connectivity, especially with the e-reader. There would be some cool connectivity with the Game Boy Advance and GameCube, which was really cool, honestly, to see that feature there. So yeah, a lot of good GameCube games use the Game Boy Advance link cable in one way or another. So yeah, and that's really, really cool, honestly. And yeah. Alright. So now let's take a look at the UI. But first, I shall play the startup. The iconic startup. Anyway, though, the GameCube had a really, really cool UI, and the UI was actually it was actually the first Nintendo console to have a UI, which is really cool. And I like how they went for the cube design with it, and the menu is just really, really cool looking. That really adds to how good the console is. So yeah. Alright, so we talked about the accessories, we talked about the console and the controller, and how the console's design is really cool, and how how the hardware of it is really nice, and yeah. The GameCube was just an excellent console, even though it didn't sell as good as the Xbox and PS2. And although the PS2 had and Xbox had a bigger library of games, the GameCube still just had some excellent games that hold up today, which is great. Even though the console didn't sell the best, due to Nintendo using mini-discs instead of DVDs, because they were worried about piracy, the GameCube was still an amazing console. Now we talk about the console now and stuff, but we talk about the UI, but now let's get into the games. The GameCube had some killer games, some amazing, excellent games, and a lot of masterpieces, and other great games that I want to talk about. Alright, so starting off with our game lineup, we have Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2. I have a ton of memories with Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2. I remember back in 5th grade, there was a game room there, and they had a GameCube there, and the games that we would play the most on it were Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2. These games are just so fun and so addicting, and are just some really fun mini-game party games. And they're really cool, honestly, and I'm really glad there's a new Monkey Ball coming later this year in a couple of weeks. As I am excited for that, even though I probably won't get it day one, but I'll get it on sale later. But yeah, the Monkey Ball games are really, really fun games, and they're definitely some of the must-play games on the system. and they're just so fun to play. And they're perfect too for multiplayer. Alright, now speaking of party games, next up we have Mario Party. Well, I'm not really a fan of the newer Mario Party games, as I couldn't get into Star Rush, and I didn't really touch 9, 10, Top 100, Island Tour, or Super, and I probably won't get I probably won't get Superstars. Probably not. Anyway, though, the first 8 Mario Party games I really like, even though I don't like the newer ones. Anyway, though, and the best age of Mario Party is definitely the GameCube era. The GameCube era was the best time for Mario Party. Mario Party 4, Mario Party 5, Mario Party 6, Mario Party 7 were the golden age of the series. They were just some excellent games. They're definitely some of the most memorable in the entire series. And the minigames are really fun and some of the best minigames ever. And yeah, and they offered a lot of variety and a lot of gameplay mechanics that the newer games should have had. And yeah, these games are just really fun, especially, and it was really cool how they did 4 of them, and each of them happening yearly. And they're definitely some of the best multiplayer games on the system. And once again, they have a lot of good mini games too. I have so many childhood memories with these games, and for so many good reasons. So yeah. And once again, this was the best time for Mario Party, and it just brought some perfect minigames, perfect boards, and everything. And Mario Party 6 and 7 even used the microphone accessory I was talking about earlier. So yeah. But now let's go on to... And then they did the Steam release in 2016, which is the one that I have. I have the PC remaster, which is based on the PS3 version. And the PS3 version even localized some of the PS2 exclusive content that was in the PS2 version that never left Japan. Anyway, though, Symphonia looks cool, and it looks really, really amazing. I'm definitely gonna play it, no matter what, sometime whenever I can. And whenever I finish other stuff in my backlog. Alright, so the next game is actually a launch title for the GameCube. Yes, Luigi's Mansion. Luigi's Mansion was, is a really new idea from Nintendo. As in the game, you play as Luigi, and it's also, well, and it's also his first game other than Mario is Missing, where he's the main star. In this game, Mario is kidnapped by King Boo, and you explore a haunted mansion, and kidnapping Boos inside, well, or I guess capturing them inside of a, we capture Boos inside of inside this vacuum thing called the Poltergeist. It was actually a really cool idea, and this game even got a remaster on the 3DS, as well as sequels with Dark Moon on the 3DS as well, and also had Luigi's Mansion 3 on the Switch. Luigi's Mansion is a really fun game. It's really cool how they made something new by a game that takes a darker tone with Nintendo with their games. This game is actually really fun, even though I never finished the original game, as I actually never finished this game until the remaster on the 3DS released in 2018. And yeah, and even though even though I first got it like 10 years ago, but didn't finish it until 3 years ago, this is still a really, really fun game overall. And it's really cool how they also brought Professor Egad to this. And yeah, introduced a new character with Egad, of course. This game was very unique, honestly. And for a launch title, it's only a couple hours long. This game really holds up 20 years later. Ah, yes. You can't forget Super Smash Bros. Melee when talking about the GameCube. Super Smash Bros. Melee is a game that many people have so much fondness towards, and even I do too. Even though I didn't really play it much until a couple of years ago. Anyway, though, Melee is a really, really fun game, and definitely one of the best games on the GameCube, and definitely one of the most popular games on the system. It's actually the high-selling game, I'm pretty sure. Super Smash Bros. Melee. For a game only released a couple weeks after the GameCube, Melee was a huge improvement compared to the original Smash on the N64. Although I do prefer Brawl and Ultimate, Melee is still a really, really great game. It had so many good characters, and even had a full-blown adventure mode. Even though Subspace Emissary and World of Light were even better. And the character selection was pretty good overall. And yeah. Melee brought so much new to the series, and it really helped with the newer games. It's very influential to them too, and for so many good reasons. And Melee is definitely a must-play on the GameCube. Alright, now on the same day as Super Smash Bros. Melee, Nintendo also released another game, and that is Pikmin. Pikmin was a really interesting game, and of course it was a new IP from Nintendo. It's basically a sci-fi series, basically, about these little alien-like creatures, and the main character is Olimar, and he explores this planet, but his rocket crashes, so then he only has 30 days left to live, so he meets these plant creatures called Pikmin, and he uses them to throw at monsters, and use them to collect things, like ship parts and stuff. Pikmin was a really interesting idea with Nintendo, so much that a sequel even happened 3 years later with Pikmin 2, which was even better, but both games also got re-released with new controls and widescreen support on the Wii in 2009. And yeah, Pikmin 1 and 2 were really excellent games, and even though Pikmin 3 didn't happen until a decade later on the Wii U, which now is remastered on the Switch with Pikmin 3 Deluxe. But Pikmin 1 and 2 were really interesting games for the GameCube, as they were a new IP from Nintendo, and there were some really cool games overall. And Pikmin 2 is even better, as they had new character. Pikmin 2 had way more collectibles, and in Pikmin 2, of course, you didn't have a time limit at all in Pikmin 2. And Pikmin 2 was even more expanded as well. So yeah, Pikmin 1 and 2, definitely check them out if you haven't already. Alright, so next up we have Super Mario Sunshine! Yeah, Super Mario Sunshine. You can't talk about GameCube without talking about Super Mario Sunshine. Although it is one of the more polarizing Mario games to the fan base, and one of the more harder Mario games, Mario Sunshine was still a really good game. I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece, but I'd say it's close to being one. Anyway, though, Mario Sunshine was a really, really fun game, and definitely one of the most interesting games Nintendo has done. It takes a tropical island vacation theme where Mario and Peach are on vacation, but then Shadow Mario, who's actually Bowser Jr. So yes, this is actually the first time we ever saw Bowser Jr. Bowser Jr. connects Peach, and calls her his mama. And yeah, and then Mario goes up to clean the ink that Shadow Mario puts all around Isle Delfino. And yeah, and the story of this game is honestly one of my favorite stories in a mainline Mario game, honestly. And the Flood Pack is one of the most interesting things too, and the nozzles with Flood are really cool. Yeah, Mario Sunshine, this is one you cannot miss if you have a GameCube. Mario Sunshine is just excellent game. I'm glad they remastered it on the Switch with 3D All-Stars. And the gameplay of Mario Sunshine was actually some of the best gameplay I've seen in a 3D Mario game. And yeah, the sprites are really cool overall, and the level design is really great. And none of it disappoints, honestly. So yeah. Alright, so next up we have Metroid Prime 1 and 2. Metroid Prime 1 and 2 were the first 3D Metroid games, and also my favorite first-person games of all time. As Metroid Prime 1 and 2 released on the GameCube, and they also got ported to the Wii later on. As well as Metroid Prime 3 being an original game on the Wii that released in 2007. Anyway, though, Metroid Prime 1 and 2 are masterpieces. I freaking love the Metroid Prime games. And they're honestly one of my favorite games of all time. The whole trilogy is, even though we're only focusing on 2 and 3, because the third one's only on the Wii. But if you want to hear me talk about the third one, come back in November for my Wii video. Anyway, though, Metroid Prime 1 and 2 are first-person action-adventure games, and they're honestly they're honestly the best Metroid games ever. They basically took the 2D Metroid experience and brought it into a first-person adventure, which is really, really cool to see. And the story in all these games are really good, and so is the gameplay, and just really, really great overall. These are definitely another must-play games from Nintendo. If you are a Nintendo fan in any capacity, do not skip these games. These games are definitely worth playing, and are all masterpieces. They're honestly some of the most influential games of all time. And for so many good reasons. Metroid Prime 1 and 2 are just some excellent... are some of my favorite games on the GameCube, and for just so many good reasons. And an exploration never gets old in either of these games. Definitely play them. And yeah. And Metroid Prime 2 even has a multiplayer mode aside from the main game, which is really cool, even though I never played the multiplayer mode that they had in Metroid Prime 2. And Metroid Prime 2 took the story and expanded it, which was even better, even though Prime 1 is a better game. But yeah, play Metroid Prime 1 and 2 if you haven't already, and play the third one on the Wii as well, even though I'm not going to talk about the third one in this video. But if you want me to talk about the third one, come back in November for my video on the Wii for its 15th anniversary. Alright, so next up we have The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker. This is also my favorite GameCube game, by the way. The Legend of the Wind Waker is a masterpiece. This is easily one of my favorite Zelda games, and yeah, best GameCube game ever in my opinion. Just excellent game. Now, when this game was first announced back in Space World at 2002, I think, or I think it was E3 2002, can't remember. People were really upset about the graphics because it didn't look much like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. However, as soon as the game finally released in late 2002 in Japan and early 2003 for the rest of the world, people ended up liking the graphics and the game as a whole after all, and it's definitely one of the most beloved games in the entire Zelda series, and personally one of my favorites. The Wind Waker is it's a really excellent experience overall, and the gameplay is honestly one of the best in the series, honestly. It's really cool to use the King of Red Lions to sail the entire sea, and its island theme is really, really cool. I'm glad that they continued the story of this game in Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks on the DS. And the gameplay is just really good, the story is really great as well, the exploration is really good, and the music is really great too. So yeah, this is our must-play. Now, though this game originally released on the GameCube, a decade later, this game got a remaster on the Wii U, and that's the version that I recommend playing. But please, Nintendo, bring this game to Switch. I really hope they port the Wii U version to the Switch. They really need to port the remaster on Wii U to the Switch. Please do it, Nintendo. But yeah, Wind Waker, also one of the best games on the system, even though the remaster on the Wii U is much better. Alright, so the GameCube had a great Zelda game with the Wind Waker, and there's also a multiplayer-focused Zelda game that I haven't played called Four Swords Adventures. But there's also another great full-scale Zelda game, at least in the GameCube, and this was also Nintendo's last game on the GameCube. The last first-party game on the GameCube was The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. This game was actually originally planned as a GameCube-only game in 2005, but then they delayed it a full year to release it on the GameCube as well as the Wii. Yeah, so this game was also a cross-gen game. It released on both the GameCube as well as the Wii. But Twilight Princess is definitely an excellent game, of course. Although I do prefer the Windwaker, Twilight Princess was still a really, really great game overall. And while not my favorite Zelda game, Twilight Princess was the more interesting one. And you know, I was saying with Windwaker about people were upset about the graphics originally, but then liked the game's graphics once it came out. Well, when this game released and when people saw the realistic tone to it and dark tone to it, people were flipping. They were losing their minds. And although I wasn't born yet at the time when this game was announced, I would have flipped hard too. This game is just one of the most interesting in the whole series, and I like how they went with a cartoony and light tone Zelda game on the GameCube in the middle of its life cycle, and then at the end of the life cycle, they ended off the GameCube and opened up the Wii's life cycle with this. Yeah, Twilight Princess is just a really, really good game, and the music's pretty good too, and the gameplay's one of the best. The story is really amazing. I like how it takes a dark tone with the story, and I like how it's really realistic, which is really nice, honestly. It also makes it unique from the rest of the series. So yeah. Alright, so next up, we got Mario Kart Double Dash. Mario Kart Double Dash is honestly one of my favorite Mario Kart games. This is another masterpiece on the GameCube. And it's really amazing, and it's also probably the most unique one with the fact that they got to have 2 drivers at a time. That is just really amazing. It's honestly a shame this game is really expensive, just like a lot of other GameCube games, because Mario Kart Double Dash is one of the best in the series, even though it's one of the most rarest and expensive GameCube games, just like every GameCube game. Anyway, though, Double Dash is some of the best tracks in a Mario Kart game overall, and it's just so good. And once again, sorry for lag. Anyway, though, it's just a really, really fun game, and all different modes are really good, honestly. So yeah. But once again, sorry for lag. My internet's really terrible today. Alright, so the last game we're going to talk about here is one of my favorite RPGs and games of all time. Yes, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. If you have a GameCube, play this game. It is brutally expensive, and one of the most expensive first-party games on the console, but it is seriously one of the best. And definitely my top 3 GameCube games. And it's also Gamer27's favorite game of all time. Anyway, though, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, this is a masterpiece. Just, you absolutely need to play it. And the partners and characters have so much personality, and the gameplay is just one of the best in the series. And yeah, and the story is one of the best stories in RPG, honestly. And yeah. This is easily one of the best games on the console, and just an excellent, excellent game that if you're a fan of Mario or RPGs or both, play it. And the worlds are just really, really nice overall, which is a great thing. And yeah, this game brought so much good stuff to this series, and for so many good reasons. And I can go on and on about this game, but it would make the video too long. But see you guys next time. Agent S out.